Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to get started here momentarily. Okay, great. It sounds like the audio is working. And so let's dive into it. Today's session is to discuss the process to restate a solo 401k with ASCENSUS. And so let's take a look at our roadmap of here of what we're going to discuss. First off, though, I'd like to again thank you for taking the time to join. Please like this video. Please subscribe for more videos like this. You can feel free to ask questions in the chat box and I will answer them here during today's video session. If you're watching this as a recording, you can ask questions in the comments and we will respond to those within 24 hours. So as far as today's topic again is upgrading your ASCENSUS Solo 401k. So this is what ASCENSUS refers to as an individual K. So the reasons why, in our experience, clients will want to upgrade are things such as the ability to do a Mega Backdoor Roth or invest in alternative investments, all for no additional charge. The expert compliance support, whether that's tax filings or forms such as a Form 5500 EZ or a 1099-R, again, for no additional charge. We'll also talk about the mechanics of how to switch and some good practical considerations, and then how to get more information about your situation. So this chart right here is a great chart as it really lays out in detail some of the top differences between the ASCENSUS Solo 401k and a self-directed Solo 401k with us. So in terms of the plan document. So that's always the first step in creating a plan, is preparing the plan documents. So with ASCENSUS, it's really a do-it-yourself model where you actually draft the plan documents yourself. Whereas with us, we prepare those plan documents specifically for your business, and we draft them in a way that's going to give you maximum flexibility so you can do all of the different things that you want to do with your retirement money, whether that's Mega Backdoor Roth or a 401k participant loan or investing in alternative investments. The next item here is opening an account. And so while you will be able to open up an account with checkbook control with an ASCENSUS plan, you have to prepare your own documents again. So it follows the same pattern. So for example, if you want to have an account at, say, Fidelity or Schwab or another brokerage firm, or if you want to have a bank account, it'll be up to you to prepare all those documents. Whereas with our customers, we prepare all those documents as part of our services for no additional charge, as part of the onboarding process. So we're preparing, say, brokerage accounts at Fidelity or Schwab, where we pre-fill those forms. We email them to you very quickly within one business day. So all you essentially need to do is sign them, upload them back to our secure website. We'll review them, compile them so they can be submitted to the brokerage firm. And that can be a lot of times multiple sub-accounts, because you might have, say, two participants participating in the plan, like a husband and wife that are both part of the same self-employed business. Or you might have different types of money, like say Roth money and pre-tax money, where you need different sub-accounts for each type of retirement money. So there can be multiple accounts that are open, and we're either preparing the forms and or working with your banker to get the right type of account set up for your account. The next item here is the fact that ASCENSUS is going to require that you have an EIN number for your business in order to open an account. So a lot of our clients are sole proprietors that are just operating under their Social Security number, and they don't have a separate EIN number for their business. So in that situation, there's no need, we don't require that type of person or client would get the EIN for their business in order to open an account with us, whereas ASCENSUS is going to require that you go out and do that for your business in order to open an account. alternative investments. That's another big reason and big difference. So with Ascensus, you cannot invest in, say, real estate or cryptocurrency or notes. Whereas with us, with our population, that's one of the top reasons that people set up accounts with us, because they do want to, say, invest in real estate, whether that's in an individual property or whether they're investing in a private placement that might be, say, buying an apartment complex, or whether it's a promissory note or cryptocurrency. So we're fielding questions every day from our existing client base about how to invest in that type of investment. We have a wealth of information on our website, whether it's webinar sessions like this or on our website, where we really show that expertise. And so if you want to be able to make that type of investment, you need a plan like our plan that allows you to do that. And then, so the next section of differences here relates to a lot of the documents that are needed to make these more advanced types of transactions with your solo 401k. So the first one here is the Form 5500EZ. So that is the form for a 401k to the annual filing, really, for a 401k, which only applies once the value of the plan exceeds $250,000. So we prepare that Form 5500EZ automatically as part of our services for no additional charge. Whereas with Ascensus, you just have to let us know and then we'll prepare it for you. Whereas with Ascensus, you need to pay them additional money, additional fee, in order for them to prepare that Form 5500EZ. Likewise with the 401k participant loan. So our plan allows you to borrow from your 401k account. You can borrow up to 50% of the balance, not to exceed $50,000. But that, of course, needs to be documented on 401k loan documents to satisfy the rules. So that's going to be things such as an amortization schedule, a promissory note, etc. So we prepared those 401k participant loan documents within 1 business day. We're very quick about that, so you can access your money right away. Whereas with Ascensus, they will do it for an additional fee. Whereas again, for us, it's no additional charge. It's just part of the support that's automatically included. Likewise with the 1099-R. So there are different scenarios where a 1099-R is going to be required. If you are taking a taxable distribution from your 401k, that needs to be reported to the IRS on a 1099-R. Likewise, if you're doing a Roth conversion, whether that's an after-tax to a Roth conversion as part of a Mega Backdoor Roth, or a pre-tax to a Roth conversion where you're paying taxes on the amount that you're converting. In either case, that has to be reported again on a 1099-R. So we prepare that as part of our services, whereas Ascensus is going to charge for that. Adding a Roth or Mega Backdoor Roth accounts. So Ascensus charges an additional fee if you want to add on those additional sub accounts. Whereas we, as we touched on above, we will prepare all the paperwork that's needed, and we don't charge an additional fee to do that. Likewise with spouses or business partners. So if you have a spouse who is working with you in your business and also going to participate in the plan, that person can have their own sub account for no additional charge. Whereas with Ascensus, there is an additional charge. So those are some of the top differences there in this chart. So please don't hesitate to ask questions as we go through these topics right here in the chat, or if you're watching on the recording, you can do it in the comments and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about the process to change from an Ascensus plan to a self-directed solo 401k with us. So the first step is that the documents need to be restated. So that means that the essentially do-it-yourself documents that you would have drafted in setting up the Ascensus plan would be replaced with our IRS approved documents. So the plan, one of the things to understand here is that your existing plan, if you have an Ascensus plan, and let's say you want to bring it over to our plan because you want to invest in alternative investments. So your plan needs to be updated. And the process to do that is a restatement process. But the plan itself is not ending. It's really just the documents are being restated. And so when we draft our plan documents for your business, we want it to relate back to that original plan effective date, because the plan itself wasn't terminated, it continues. So we need that original plan effective date. Typically that's going to be January 1st of the year that you set up the plan. If you don't have an EIN number for the plan, then we would obtain that as part of our services. That's one of the IRS expectations, that there's a separate EIN for the 401k. So if you need to close an existing account, I mean, you could always keep it, but you might be adding on new accounts, for example, because you want to have a voluntary after-tax account or a Roth account, or add an account for a spouse, and you don't want to pay the additional fees. So, you know, that's part of, again, part of the onboarding process with us. We would prepare all the paperwork to get those new accounts set up. Of course, the ASCENSUS will need to be notified of the restatement. There's a conversion process. They have a couple of forms that need to be completed. One is a 3-page set of forms, which is referred to as their individual K termination kit or plan conversion form. Likewise, they have a plan termination payout request form, which is 4 pages. So you can request that from them as part of the process and then send it to us, and we'll complete it as part of our services to make sure that it's completed correctly. So finally, it goes back to the notion that the plan is continuing. So there's no final form 5500 EZ that needs to be completed as part of this process. A final form 5500 EZ would apply if you were actually terminating the plan. Also, a 1099-R is not required because you're not rolling over the money. Really, the plan is just being restated. So it's not as if the plan assets were being transferred to a different plan or to an IRA where a 1099-R would be required. Okay, great. Again, thank you so much for watching the video. Please don't hesitate to ask questions. We're going to keep going through some of these good topics here. So one consideration as part of that conversion process is whether or not your assets already exceed $250,000. And just to really define that, we're talking about all of the assets in the plan. So let's say that you have multiple participants. Again, a simple example is a husband-wife. So you need to add up both accounts, both the assets in the plan for the husband and the assets in the plan for the wife. And it's not just the cash in the account, it's really the value of all the assets as well. So if they're invested in, say, a mutual fund, it's the value of that mutual fund. So once those assets exceed $250,000, a Form 5500 EZ is required. And the key date here is December 31st. So for example, if the assets exceed $250,000 as of December 31st, 2020, a Form 5500 EZ is going to be required to be filed by July 31st of 2021. So sometimes when clients come to us and they want to restate their plan with our plan, they are not aware of this requirement. And so it comes to their attention that they haven't been filing the form. So in that case, they need to go back and file under the correction program. The good thing is that the IRS does have a process to bring the plan into compliance, which is referred to as the correction program. And you actually do have an ability to limit the fees because you're capped out at $500 for each year that is late. And if you have more than 3, you're capped out at 3 years. So the most you would pay to bring it into compliance is $1,500. So another consideration is if you want to keep investments that you already have in your plan. Let's say that you have a specific mutual fund and you want to restate the plan because some of the cash that's in your account, you want to be able to invest in alternative investments, or you want to be able to do Mega Backdoor Roth and not pay additional fees. But for the investments that you want to keep, you can keep those either by just keeping the existing account that you have. If it's set up under the name of the plan, under the EIN number, you can just keep it. You could also transfer it to a new account. Let's say it's a mutual fund. So if it's going to go to a new account, you just want to make sure that the account where the brokerage firm where the new account is going to be allows for that specific investment, say that specific fund. So for example, if you already have the account at Schwab, we could just set up a new account at Schwab if you need to have a new account, and then just do an in-kind transfer from that existing account at Schwab, holding that mutual fund, to the new account. And we would, of course, prepare the transfer forms to facilitate that whole process. And I see we've got a question. Thank you so much for your good question. We'll go through the rest of these points here, and then we'll field your question. So the next couple of bullet points here in terms of additional considerations are whether you've got spouses. So again, one of the key takeaways here is that spouses need to have separate sub-accounts, and we prepare the paperwork to open up those separate sub-accounts, and it's all part of the fee. There's no additional charge. If you are at the point where you are close to a deadline to make a contribution, you may want to file an extension if you have the ability to do so, just to ensure that there's plenty of time to make contributions and that you don't miss it because you're in the process of transferring and moving accounts over, et cetera, et cetera. So let's turn to these questions before we go on to the next slide. So the first one, again, thank you so much for asking questions. Please keep them coming. Should I move my SEP IRA to solo 401k? That's a great question. So first of all, you do not have to. You can. And if you want to move your SEP IRA to your solo 401k, we will prepare the required paperwork to do so. Because the reason that it's important, number one, is that whoever your SEP IRA is with, like let's say it's at Vanguard, Vanguard needs to report that transfer to the IRS. So we want to make sure that they report it correctly as a non-taxable direct rollover by ensuring that the transfer paperwork is completed properly. So in the event that Vanguard doesn't report it correctly, let's say that they report it as a taxable transfer, you have that transfer paperwork to go back to Vanguard and say, hey, you need to correct that 1099-R. I told you it was a direct rollover, for example. So, whether you do it or not, one consideration is, whether you want to say invest the money that's in that SEP IRA in alternative investments, or maybe you want to be able to take a loan and use that to fund a 401k participant loan, where you can borrow up to 50% of the balance, not to exceed 50,000. Let's say you've got 60,000 in your solo and 40,000 in your SEP. So you roll over the 40 to the solo. So now you can take a $50,000 loan, where again, we prepare the paperwork for that. Or let's say you want to be able to invest that SEP IRA in cryptocurrency, and it's at Vanguard and they don't allow you to invest in cryptocurrency. You roll it over to the solo 401k with us, which does allow for that type of investment, and then you could do that. The next question here, if the solo 401k has over $250,000, does it need to file a 5500 or 5500 EZ? Or is there any time a solo 401k would file a 5500? Presumably, you're referring to the long form 5500. There's other versions versus the 5500 EZ. So a 5500 EZ applies to a situation where you have an owner-only business, which is the same situation which allows for somebody to have a solo 401k. So that is always the form that it would be required. There's really no reason to file a long form 5500. Hopefully that helps. And again, like I mentioned a couple of times, we prepared the 5500 EZ as part of our services. So that's something you can rely on, and there's no additional charge. Thank you for that good question, though. We do appreciate it. Please don't hesitate to ask more questions. So let's move on. And this page here highlights our compliance support that we provide. So right off the bat here, the 5500 EZ, as I mentioned, is something that we take care of as part of our services. And I see we got a follow-up comment. Let's go through these points and we'll come back to it. So the balance exceeds 250,000 as of December 31st. We talked about it's, all the different sub accounts, all the different types of assets, what's the value, and that's what triggers it. The 1099-R comes up in different situations, distributions, a rollover, in-plan conversions. Again, we prepare that as part of our services for no additional charge. Required plan updates. So there's a major update that's on the horizon. There's also periodic updates in addition to the major update that will be needed. So we take care of that for our entire plan population automatically. Contribution calculation. So the ability to contribute can sometimes be, not straightforward. You might be participating in multiple plans. You might have a Mega Backdoor Roth situation. So that type of service and support we provide to help you determine how much you can contribute, where to report it. We have client-only webinars. We have a wealth of information on our website 24/7, of course, that can help you in that regard too. 401k loan document preparation. We prepare those documents, all the required documents, so you can take a loan from your plan. We do that very quickly within one business day. Alternative investments. So a lot of times clients they have questions about how to invest. They want to buy a rental property. How do I do it? How do I pay for expenses? Things like that. Account setup. So we don't force our clients to have their account at any particular place. So we've got clients that have accounts at hundreds of different banks, different brokerages, cryptocurrency exchange, et cetera, et cetera. So we provide that type of support, whether it's speaking to your banker, preparing the forms, guiding you through the online process to help you ensure that that account is set up correctly in accordance with the Solo 401k requirements. So back to the good question here. So if I move to a Solo 401k, the SEP IRA to a Solo 401k, and then I do Mega Backdoor Roth and keep partial SEP, do I have to pay tax pro rata? I see. So, and then another question here. So I think your next question is unrelated, so we'll start with your first follow-up question. So as far as the pro rata rules, if we're talking about inside the plan, you don't have to consider the SEP IRA in terms of the pro rata rules. So great question. And if you have more questions about Mega Backdoor Roth, please check out our website. We've got a lot of information. We have a deep dive webinar that goes over that. So please don't hesitate to check that out. Next question, will contribution to Roth be considered 2020 or 2021 if I open Solo 401k in 2020 and contribution made 2021? The 5-year waiting period, is it 2020 or 2021? Got it. So the contribution that you make would really be, you could make a 2020 contribution if you set up the plan. Let's say in your scenario, you set up the plan in 2020, but you make that Roth contribution in 2021. So that would count as a 2020 contribution. So you're really starting your 5-year clock in 2020. So hopefully that helps there. So please don't hesitate to ask more questions. We'll just highlight the way to get more information about your situation. You can contact us at business@mysolo401k.net. You can call us at 1-800-489-7571. Please like this video, please subscribe, and you can get notifications of our weekly webinars. We do this every single week. And please don't hesitate to ask more questions. We do have more time if there's more follow-up questions. So thank you so much for your participation, and hope everyone has a great day. That looks like it. It's it. Thank you so much.